Hey, what's up guys, it's Matt with the Movement System. In this video, I'm gonna show you my favorite exercise for each major tendon in the body. Tendon pain sucks, but fortunately, building tendon strength is actually quite simple. I've spent years getting my doctorate of physical therapy and training hundreds of clients with tendon pain. I've tested every exercise out there and narrowed it down to this list of the most effective exercises for each area. So if you watch to the end, you'll know exactly how to build tendon strength anywhere in the body. Let's dive right into it. Okay, before we get into the exercises, I want to give you a quick 60 seconds of tendon training science and the protocol of sets and reps that will be the same for each exercise on the list. If you do want to skip right to the exercises, you can go to this timestamp. So here's the brief science. If you're having tendon pain, your tendon looks like this. In an MRI, it actually looks kind of like this, with a white area indicating damage and a black area months after training indicating healthy tendon. But I like to keep it simple and show it like this: an area of healthy tendon and an area of damage. If we get three things right in training, we can effectively stimulate this area of damage to rebuild healthy tendon, what we call collagen synthesis. And those three things are time, tension, and volume. Let's go through them. Time is a 30-second either isometric or slow controlled movement up and down. There's a lot of research to show that either of those can be similarly effective. I tend to prefer starting with isometrics because they are typically really well tolerated and don't flare up the tendon. Why 30 seconds? Well, because of something called stress relaxation. That's a fancy way of saying that the muscle slowly shortens and the tendon slowly lengthens under load. This is what stimulates collagen synthesis, and from the MRI images that we showed, and in this area of damaged tendon, you would expect to see healing take place. This process starts after just a few seconds of muscle tension, but 30 seconds is really the sweet spot for maximizing this stress relaxation response. You can go all the way to 45 seconds if you want to, but just don't sacrifice the strength of the muscle contraction, because that's what we're going to talk about next. The second requirement for effective tendon training is tension. Specifically, a large body of research suggests that we need to achieve a 70% contraction strength, or at least a 7 out of 10 intensity, to effectively stimulate the tendon. You may need to build up to this if your tendon is painful, but it's really important to actually work up to this truly challenging muscle contraction to stimulate collagen synthesis and tendon healing. A lot of people miss this because they were given exercises that were just too easy, and they end up going years without actually healing their tendon. Okay, and the third requirement for effective tendon training is volume. Specifically, I recommend 3 to 6 sets directly targeting the tendon either every other day or 3 times per week. This means simply choosing one exercise for the tendon and doing 3 to 6 sets, or 2 exercises and doing 3 sets each, and then doing that consistently 3 times per week. It really is as simple as 30 seconds on, about a minute to 90 seconds of rest. Repeat that 3 to 6 times. The most important thing with this is being consistent. I typically recommend doing it at the start of your normal workouts. So overall, don't get distracted by the nonsense that doesn't actually change your tendon, like stretching, ultrasound, massage gun, ice, or heat. Instead, focus on the 3 things that matter the most: time with a 30-second challenging contraction, tension with at least 70% of your maximum force, and volume with 3 to 6 sets 3 times per week. If you get these 3 things right, you're gonna be on track to building a strong, healthy tendon. All right, now let's get into the specific exercises for each major tendon. And we're gonna start with the lower body. My goal is to show you each exercise in 60 seconds or less. Let's start with the Achilles tendon. For the Achilles tendon, I recommend the Johnson calf raise. This is an excellent way to get a strong muscle contraction through the calf and the Achilles tendon. For this exercise, the front foot is gonna be placed on a box, making it very stable even with a heavy barbell on the back. Positioning the back foot behind the body places the ankle in about 15 degrees of dorsiflexion at the bottom of the rep. This is just right for getting a good loaded stretch through the Achilles without a deep stretch that can be irritable to insertional Achilles pain. So load the barbell up so this is challenging and work those 3 sets of 30-second either isometric holds or full range of motion lifts up and down. Next, we have the plantar fascia. And for this, I think the best exercise is a calf raise with the toes extended on a wedge. It can be difficult to actually load the plantar fascia because it's fascia, not a tendon technically, but extending the toes with a wedge or a towel is one great way to effectively load that area. So simply find a position like this with the toes extended, either on a wedge or on a towel. And real quick, if you are enjoying the video and all the work that goes into making this, do me a quick favor and hit the like button. It really helps out our channel so that we can continue to make high quality videos. You can also check out our sponsors and training programs in the description below to support the channel. All right, next we have the patellar tendon, and this is a big one for athletes who sprint and jump. My number one go-to exercise here is the leg extension. I like an isometric hold with the knee not fully straight, not bent to 90 degrees, but about halfway in between there. I recommend to put the pin at the very bottom and work on one leg at a time with a really strong 30-second contraction. I've given this to a bunch of athletes with great success. And honorable mention for this one to the single leg wall sit. This is a really great alternative if you don't have a leg extension machine. All right, moving right along, we have the hamstring tendons. And my number one exercise here is the long lever bridge. Basically, it's a glute bridge, but walking the heels out farther away from your butt. The farther you walk the heels out, the better. I take my athletes through a progression here from a glute bridge to a long lever bridge to a single leg long lever bridge and to the hardest of all, the heel elevated single leg bridge. You can try this progression as well. What you want to do is find the most challenging one that you can hold for 30 seconds with great form, keeping the knees, hips, and shoulders in a straight line. All right, next we have the adductors. And this one is particularly important for hockey players and lacrosse athletes. And for this, I like the Copenhagen plank. This can be done on the knee or on the foot, depending on the level of strength. Again, find a challenging 30-second contraction, either with a static isometric hold or moving the hips up and down slowly. Moving on to the glute medius, we actually have a very similar exercise, and that is the side plank leg lift. Basically planking on one elbow and either the bottom knee or foot. From there, lifting the top leg and holding that position. If you haven't done this one, you may be surprised how hard it can be to hold this position for 30 seconds. And a quick form tip, make sure that the toes of your top leg are pointed forward or slightly down to work the glute, not rotated up towards the ceiling, or you'll feel the TFL instead in the front of your hip. And then lastly, rounding out the lower body, we have the hip flexor. For this, I like the hip flexor rock back. Anchor one foot to the ground under a weight, and then slowly rock the body back. Again, you can hold one position here with an isometric, or move up and down slowly. All right, now let's move on to the upper body. The first one I want to address here is the bicep tendon. This one is typically felt right in the front of the shoulder through the bicipital groove. And for this, I like the open can front raise. This can be done as an isometric pushing into a wall or holding a dumbbell. For an isometric hold, I like to hold at a 30-degree angle out away from the body. Next, we have the rotator cuff. And this is the test that I do for the rotator cuff with my clients. I have them hold two fists out just like this, and I try to pull them together. In clients with rotator cuff pain, a tendon tear, or weakness on one side, you'll typically see a collapse in, and it will be painful in the back of the shoulder on one side. If that's the case for you, then this is the exercise that I would do. Hold that same 90-degree position and then push the outside of your hand into a wall. I like to place a towel there to push into just for comfort. Make sure to keep the elbow by the side as you're pushing the knuckles out into the wall. That's a really great way to build the rotator cuff tendons back up. Now, this is the most common rotator cuff issue, but if your pain is coming from the supraspinatus muscle towards the top, then you might find the straight arm variation of this works better for you. Keep your arm straight down by the side and then lift the hand into the wall like a lateral raise. Sometimes I'll even have clients do both. I also did want to say a quick thank you to Muscle in Motion for allowing us to use their anatomy animations in our videos to help you all learn. If you are a trainer or a coach and you want to learn more about functional anatomy and biomechanics, we're actually about to release a continuing education course in collaboration with Muscle in Motion. You can join the waitlist in the description below and get the launch price discount whenever it's released. All right. The next tendon is the tricep tendon. And for this one, I like the tricep press down isometric. Simply start the tricep press down motion, but then pause the motion at a 90-degree elbow bend. Hold there for 30 seconds. And then finally, we have a few wrist tendon exercises. For the outside of the elbow or tennis elbow, I would actually recommend two exercises. First is wrist extension. And this can be done by holding a dumbbell in the hand with the palm facing down. And you want to make sure the forearm is supported. From there, extend the knuckles up towards the ceiling. And then the second one for the same lateral elbow tendon is wrist supination. This can be done with a golf club, a bat, or anything that can challenge that wrist supination movement. If you can't find something that's just the right weight, that's okay. You can actually manually resist it and push down with the other hand to get enough force. Remember, we want a challenging 7 out of 10 intensity for that muscle contraction. Both of those exercises are great for building up that lateral elbow tendon. And then lastly, we have the medial elbow. This is really important for sports involving grip, like golf, arm wrestling, or rock climbing. And again, I have 2 exercises here. The first one is wrist flexion, but I actually don't like doing that one with a dumbbell. Instead, what I really like for this is hanging or using a hangboard. This works the wrist tendons, and if you're using a hangboard with a limited depth, it also works the finger tendons. And for rock climbers specifically, it's actually really important to practice with that hangboard and train those finger tendons. Rock climbers that climb for hours but infrequently, for example only on the weekends, can end up at risk for blowing out a finger or a wrist tendon. If you can get a more consistent stimulus to those tendons by hangboarding a few times a week, you'll be much more prepared. And then the second exercise is wrist pronation. Again, using a golf club or something similar, but this time working the opposite motion, pronating. If you're doing it right, you should feel this challenging the inside of the forearm. Okay, a few other important details that I want to mention. First is plan to spend at least 3 months to see the full results of tendon training. That's what we typically see with the research. I do wish that I had better news, but the truth is that tendons take time. A lot of people train for 1 month and feel no change, or 2 months and feel a little bit of progress, and then they give up. I think that it's really important to know that this is what the research actually looks like. If you stick with it, you'll get there. Don't quit, because you'll just have to restart the whole process over again. Second, once your tendons are healed, keep doing a little bit to maintain it. You already know the exercise that worked. Just do 3 sets of 30 seconds, 1 or 2 times per week to maintain it. It's really only about 5 minutes of work, and it can keep your tendon pain from coming back. Once I learned this, I've been able to do a simple maintenance routine and keep my tendon pain away for years. And then third, consider taking a collagen supplement. Some people tell you that it's not that important, yet large systematic reviews like this say the majority of these supplements were found to improve clinical and/or structural outcomes in the treatment of tendinopathy. To make it easy for you, so that way you don't have to do the research yourself, these are 2 examples of popular, well-rated collagen and gelatin supplements on Amazon that could provide you with the recommended about 15 grams of collagen that you could take 1 to 2 hours before your tendon training. I'll leave a link in the description below. This isn't nutrition advice. Consult your doctor before making any changes to your diet. I'm just passing along to you what the research says and trying to make it as easy as possible for you to resolve your tendon pain, because I know it sucks to have tendon pain and you're busy. Okay, so that's what I have for you. If there's any follow-up questions, make sure you leave them in the description below. I'll try to answer them or make a follow-up video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe so you don't miss any future videos, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks.